Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Kunal Patel, and in continuation with our Pandas series, today we are going to discuss a very important topic, right? So whenever we are making a data analysis, right? So in that the data is in a huge amount, means we have a lots of data, right? So in that it may be possible that some of the values are missing, some of the data is missing. Okay, so how to handle that particular situation, right? So why we need to handle this situation? Suppose, say for example, if we have a blank data, right, and if we are going to calculate some statistical analysis, right, so in that it may be possible we are not getting the appropriate answer, right? So in other way you can also say that you need to clean the data. Okay, right. So today in this session we are going to perform some of the activities, right? So for to understand this example, I took the NETFLIX dataset, netflix underscore titles dot csv. This particular data set is easily available on the internet Kaggle site. I have downloaded this from the Kaggle site. Okay, so let's understand how we can handle this. So first of all, I need to import pandas as a pd. Okay, and then I'm creating the data frame and reading the data set, and after that I'm executing, right? So here you can see that this is my data, right? So 0 1 2 3 4 up to I have 6234 rows and 12 columns. Okay, so if you see, these are the 12 columns. So in this particular data you can see that this is a directors column. In that some of the values are not there, so that values are filled with the NaN. NaN means not enough, right? So that particular values are missing over here. Okay, so how to deal with this kind of data, and how you can clean this particular data? Okay, right. So first of all, let's try to understand. First of all, I'm making my to make this data in a proper manner, I am taking release underscore years as my index. So how you can set the index? So for that, df dot set underscore index and release year, right? And as we know that to make the permanent changes, we need to write in place is equals to true. So now instead of this 0 1 2 up to this 6 2 3 4, that particular consider as a release year now onwards, right? So if I execute this code, right, so now you can see instead of that numbers I have release years. Okay, I have release years. So you can see that all the release years are as my index value. Okay, now so now how you can fill these values with some another our desired values, right? Suppose, say for example, I want to fill these values with zeros. Okay, so right now we have this as a director, then this we have as a country, but it may be in integer or float data, right? Suppose if you are taking the weather data set, right? So in that if you want to calculate the statistical analysis, maximum temperature, average temperature, and all that kind of stuff if you want to perform, right? So for that numerical data you have to put 0 or 0.0 over here, right? But right now we have a string value, so we'll deal in that manner. Okay, so fillna function is there, right? So what is the job of fillna function? So this function is used to fill some meaningful values instead of NaN. So as I told you that instead of this NaN, I want to fill all the NaN with zeros, right? So if I execute this code, so now you can see instead of NaN everywhere it is a 0. Instead of NaN everywhere it is a 0. Okay, so likewise you can put any meaningful data into that, right? So if you have a numerical data, then you can put fillna 0, right? But here we have a string data. So how to deal with that? So here we are taking a different example that I'm not touching this my original data frame. I'm creating a new data frame, right? New variable instead. So df.fillna. Now what I'm doing, my country and director column has nan values, right? So instead of nan, I'm going to put the no data, or I'm going to put the missing data. Okay, right? So if I execute this cell, then you can see that here in a country column I have a missing data, and in a director column I have a no data instead of nan. So column wise also you can set the particular values, right? So this is the wonderful example of a fillna, right? And you can use it. Now let's go ahead. If I want that, I don't want this no data and missing data kind of stuff over here. Instead of that, what I want, that if I want to fill all this data, right, either by the previous value or by the forwarded value, right? So how you can do that? So ffill function is there. So what is the job of ffill function? So this function is used to fill the data, like if I have a previous value carry forwarded into the next cell, right? So if I have a previous value, like suppose say for example here Fernando Lebriza, right? Likewise here at the first director is Richard Finn and team Melby, right? So here after that no data is there. So instead of no data, I want to fill these cells no data with Richard Finn and team Melby, right? So for that I need to go for f forward function, right? So for that fillna, new def fillna, and you have to provide the method, right? And into that you need to write the ffill. Now if I execute this code, then you will see that, let me take, okay, so all my no data values, no data cells are filled by the previous values, that is Richard Finn and team Melby, right? So this is a forward fill. This is the forward fill. Suppose instead of that I want to do the reverse, I want to do the backward fill, right? So instead of forward fill I want to perform the backward fill. So for that I need to go for the bfill method, right? And if I execute this, then you can see instead of Richard Finn team, now my values are filled with the Fernando Lebriza, right? Okay, so this way you can go forward and this way you can go for the backward fill. Okay, so this is very useful whenever you have a numerical data and if you want to find the average and mean statistical analysis stuff if you want to perform. Okay, now the next parameter is axis parameter, right? So this will fill the data horizontally. So in previous example we saw that we done the backward and forward fill onto the columns, right? But now if I want to go for the row wise, so what I can do, that for that axis parameter is there. Okay, so the same code you need to copy paste, df fillna method is equals to my backward fill and axis is equals to columns, so this will fill the horizontal data. So if I execute this, okay, now you can see over here that instead of backward and forward column data, now I have row wise horizontal fill, right? So here what function we have used, backward fill. So instead of this particular, you can say Fernando Lebriza, now I have horizontal data, that is Jandino Asporat, right? So from here to here, so that is a horizontal fill. horizontal fill. So you can also fill the data row wise. You can also fill the data row wise, right? Now the next is limit parameter. Okay, so now suppose, say for example, right now we have so many nan functions, right? But what this limit function will, limit parameter will do, suppose I'm going for the forward fill. So here in this example you can see that my data, okay, here my data is like this. Suppose say for Richard, and then after 1 2 3 3 rows contains the no data. Okay, so what I want to perform with this limit, so what I can do, I can only go for the one fill value after that, right? So from Richard Finn team matli, so here it is also Richard Finn team by. Okay, rest of the cells are as it is. So for that we can go for the particular limit parameter. So let me execute this so you can get the idea what I am talking about. Okay, so you can see over here, after Richard filled assembly, that only one cell is going to be filled, rest of the cells are as it is. So if I want to fill only one cell after, either it is as a forward fill or it is a backward fill, so for that you need to go for limit parameter to 1. Okay, suppose say for example limit is equals to 2. So if I execute this code, then you can see after first row only 2 none values are going to be filled, third value is same as it is, right? So this way you can use the limit parameter, right? After that this is the interpolate function. Okay, then suppose say for example if you want to use the suppose if I take the weather data set, right, and if I want to calculate the mean value between first and second value, missing value, right? So in that case you can go for the interpolate, right? So here we have a string value, so there is no need to execute, it will don't return anything because we don't have any numerical data in this, right? So but if you you can go for the interpolate function. Okay, now the next is a dropna. Now the next is a dropna. So what it will do, that this will drop all the rows which have a none value. This is a wonderful function, right? Whatever values contain whatever cell contains the null value, all that will be dropped. So if I execute that, then you can see instead of 6000 now I have only 3774 rows, right? So you can see now I will not find any single none value over here. Okay, right? So this is a wonderful function, this is a wonderful cleaning function, you can say. If I want to delete, if I want to drop all the null values from my data set, then you can go for the dropna function. You can go for the dropna function, right? Now the next is how you can deal with the dropnas in a different way. So dropna contains the axis parameter, so you can either go by the row wise, index wise, or you can go by the column wise, right? So if you set axis equals to index, means it will drop all the rows which have none values, it will not take up for the columns, right? So if I execute this code, then you can see whatever you can say row contains the nan null value, that will be deleted, that will be deleted. Okay, but if I set axis equals to columns, means it will drop all the columns which have nan value, so it will search for the nan value column wise. So if I execute this code, then only it will delete the column. So you can see instead of 11 or 12 column, we have only 6 columns, we have only 6 columns, right? So whichever column contains the null value, that will be deleted. So here instead of 11 we have only 6 columns. So you can either drop the values missing values, null values by the row wise or the column wise, right? So according to your requirement you can choose the parameter, right? Now another important parameter over here in a dropna function is how function, right? So it will drop the row which has all the null values, right? So what it will do, it will search for the null values, okay? It will search for the null values. Suppose say for example if I execute, you can see it will, okay, so this is my original DM, right? So what it will do, it will search for the rows which has all the null values, but here you will see that we don't have that kind of data, any data in this data set which row contains all the null values, right? So if I execute this code, then it will not affect that much, okay, right? So you will find your data as it is. But suppose say for in 2013 all the row, in this row all the values are null, then this particular 2013 row will be dropped or deleted, okay? But right now we don't have any row, such row that contains all the null values, so it will not affect that much, okay, right? After that we can go for the threshold function, right? Threshold parameter. So what is the use of this particular threshold parameter? So this means we have at least one non-NA values, so keep that row and skip, or you can say drop all the other rows, right? So suppose say for example we have 11 columns over here, okay, right? So according to our usage of this threshold parameter, what I want, I have at least one non-NA values, so I just need to keep that and I just need to drop all other rows, okay? So if I execute this, then you can see I have 5707, okay? So what it will do, over here, right? So if you change the threshold, means at least one non-NA values you require, okay? So here all the values are there, so that row keep as it is, all other rows are deleted, dropped, okay? Next is NA function. So if I want to check for the null value and return either true or false, okay? So right now if you see over here, then to find the NaN value is very difficult by looking at this data set, right? Because we have a different values. But if I want to convert it into boolean, that is true and false, so my task will be easy. So if I execute this, then you can see wherever the true is there means it contains the NaN, okay, right? All other rest false are contains the data, right? So isNA function is very useful if you generalize the particular query for finding the missing data, right? So it will return either true or false. Now suppose if I want to check the data type of all the columns, so what I can do, I can write the d types. So apart from the so id, all the datas are in the string, right? That's why it is shows as the object, okay? But you can also perform the type conversion. Suppose say for example where the type conversion is required, to make the type conversion as type is used, okay? So this fill function will convert the data type as desired. So suppose if I want to convert from integer to float, from string to integer, okay, sometimes what happen that age is here in this example, I have not this that kind of stuff over here, that's why I took the example. Like suppose age is the string value, right? But suppose I want to find out the average age or minimum age or max age, right? So that function is applicable on the integer numerical data only. So what I need to do, I need to convert that age string value to the integer value, right? So either it is integer or float, but whenever you find the NaN value in your data set, So by default the type of nan value is a float. So if you consider that, then if I execute this, so you can see that by default the value of nan is float, right, means 0, 0.0. Okay, now if I want to calculate, if my data I want to keep it is in a float, then it's fine. Okay, but if I have string data and if I want to convert it into integer, then I need to take what I can take, that df age is equals to df age dot s type, and into bracket I just need to provide the integer. So what it will do, it will convert the string into the integer, and then I can perform any summation or average kind of function directly onto that. Okay, so this is the type conversion, how you can convert the type into the data frame. Okay, apart from that, at last I want to discuss two important values, important functions, that if I want to find the unique values, right? So there are two ways to find the unique values, right? So directly if you want to get the name of the unique values, right, suppose say for example type is my column. Okay, so in this type, how many types of unique data are there? Movie TV shows. So I can see from these movie and TV shows are all there. So if I want to find the unique value from this type column, so if I execute, then I can find that movie and TV show. There are two types only in a Netflix, movie and TV shows in these titles, right? So you can see that. Suppose in these unique values, I want to find the I want to calculate how many movies and how many TV shows. So you can go for the value underscore count function. So if I execute this, then you will see 4265 movies and 1969 TV shows are there, right? So this way also you can find the unique count. This function will return all the unique values count, right? So these are the very basic functions, and all these functions are required whenever you are handling, or you can say cleaning up the data, right, whenever you are handling missing data or you are cleaning the data set. And these are the pre-processing steps, and these are very much required whenever you do the data analysis, right? So I hope these all the functions are very useful. I try to convey my best to explain these functions. If you have a query, then you can comment on my channel, right? Okay, everyone, bye.